As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we highlight not only the vibrant cultures and contributions of the Hispanic community, but also the trailblazers who are shaping the future of manufacturing. Today, we'll be speaking with Mariana Cogan, the CMO for Digital Transformation at Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence Americas. With her exceptional leadership and innovative vision, she has driven Hexagon towards success while also serving as a role model for aspiring leaders through her participation as a board member of the Boys and Girls Club of Boston. She has more than 15 years of experience in the digital tech industry, and today we get to talk about Mariana's journey as an executive, exploring the challenges and triumphs of her career on her pathway to the C-suite, the significance of diversity and leadership, and her insights on fostering innovation in today's business landscape. So thank you for joining us, Mariana.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Super excited to talking with all of you today.
So you are currently the CMO at Hexagon. So let's start there. What does this role entail? And can you walk us back through your career path to how you landed here?
I pretty much look after everything that is marketing related. If you think about it, especially in this day and age, about 70% of the buyer's journey happens before somebody wants to talk to a seller. So everything that happens before, when it comes from the brand, the messaging, how do we talk, what do we say, where do we meet our buyers, events, website, webinars, you name it, everything that allows to be in front of our customers, that is the work that I do. Then once we close business, how do we continue that conversation so that we transform our customers into part of the family, members of the family, of Hexagon. So that's pretty much what I do day in, day out. It was an interesting journey, as you know, with everybody else. It was not really a straight line. I started my career in investment banking. I'm actually an economist, so a little bit of an unusual, background for somebody in marketing. And the first role that I took in the manufacturing engineer space was with MathWorks. Everybody's very familiar with MATLAB and Simulink. So I started my career, like the second part of my career in, with them. I started much more on the operational side, the data side, the processes, the systems, that's how, things started. I went to PTC, where I did a lot of the digital transformation, and now with Hexagon. So, and a very exciting role, but yeah, it took very different steps to get here.
So Hispanic women are chronically underrepresented in this field, with only 2% of Hispanic women and 3% of women of color. So was this apparent to you as you entered the field?
I mean, I think the last time that I saw you was at IMTS, big show in the industry, and we see the people that stop by. We have very few females, let alone very few females, from a Hispanic background. So it is a quest. I always tend to say that it is both parties that we need to to work harder on this. We need to work on the branding of the industry to make sure that we have many more representation from women, from Hispanic women. But yes, it is still a big challenge.
As an innovator in this industry, can you share a time when you identified a market opportunity that others may have overlooked, and if so, what steps did you take to capitalize on it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, right now I work very closely with, with the Mexican market, and there's been different times when we have identified new areas where we can, find, growth. I would say that, always start with your research so that you can have the data that is needed to support investment, so that you can build an ROI case. Once that you have numbers that justify what you're going to be, looking to implement, You have to take the accountability, because right now you have an idea, you got your numbers, and with that, you'll be able to get support. Our presence in Mexico continues growing. At IMTS, there's so many different Mexicans, people speaking Spanish, so that's definitely an opportunity to continue developing for the next IMTS.
I want to talk a little more specifically about your current position. So what are some of the innovative practices or technologies that you have implemented in your organization to improve efficiency or productivity?
As you can imagine by now, many more things are related to AI. AI is what is driving a lot of increases in efficiency, increases in productivity. Again, at IMTS, we had a sales-driven, AI persona answering, questions on the aftermarket space. When it comes to messaging, when it comes to content creation, again, a lot of it is driven by AI. Very data-driven on how we make decisions about our personas, our campaigns, what's working, what's not working. But I would say a lot of AI, absolutely.
So one of the big pushes at IMTS I noticed was the sustainability aspect. So how do you address sustainability in your business practices? And what innovative strategies have you implemented to promote eco-friendly manufacturing?
Absolutely. Sustainability is a top business priority for Hexagon. As you can imagine, most of the carbon footprint that Hexagon has really comes from our larger vendors. So we're making sure that we're supporting that they have their own initiatives in this. Since we're aiming that by 2050, we're going to be net zero. That's a big goal, but we're going to aim for our ratio of renewable energy to be 100%. And in the US, as you can imagine, in our factories, we have, EV chargers, we have solar cell or some kind of, wind turbine, and we're looking to execute more and more carbon neutral energy contracts. So it is an absolute top priority for Hexagon.
Fantastic. So what role does corporate social responsibility play in your company's culture? And how do you drive the initiatives in this area?
As you can imagine, this is a portion that is very close to my heart. Our top goal is to get females into leadership roles at 30%. We want to make sure that 30% of our senior leadership is female. That's kind of like the biggest goal. After that, of course, health and safety, especially, we really make sure that eliminating any form of forced labor, child labor, any kind of discrimination, and making sure that we have a culture of diversity and integration.
Definitely. So on your LinkedIn page, you have a quote that says, empowering 2D diversity in high tech because it's proven that more diverse companies are more innovative and outperform growth. So how do you foster diversity and inclusion in your workplace?
At Hexagon, we try to do it in a much more programmatic, because it's not enough by me trying to bring, on the journey, many more people who look like me. It's about building, a program. So we start by making sure that when we are interviewing candidates, we have a variety of candidates. We make sure that we have a way to not only to mentor, but also sponsor, so that it's not about just having females or diversity coming into, the more junior roles, but how do we groom talent? I run a meeting that is called Hexagon en Español, so that we can find a place where people that have, a different background can find their family. And then that way we have employees that stay longer with us, that we help them to develop. But it really boils down to building something that is programmatic, that is not just, again, me trying, but we have a program so that many more managers, senior leadership can really be part of the change.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so why don't we talk about your future goals for the company in terms of innovation and growth?
Absolutely. As you know very well, Hexagon is innovation. It's been in our DNA since we were founded. It continues being, part of our, number one priority. We're going to continue investing in autonomous technologies. That's what we see, the future manufacturing. A lot of investment is going to be going into simulation, location intelligence, positioning, all these different components that allow us to get products to the market that are not anymore just about improving our features and our functions, which is extremely important. Hexagon has a big legacy on accuracy, but also making sure that we're supporting our customers and prospects to really reach their goals in every single other business KPI.